Cosmetics, or that all-important drip, as the kids do say, is a big part of Warhammer 40,000's penance system. And I'm going to be going through this today and talking about how to unlock all of those cosmetics that are bound behind the individual penances in the game in each class. Now, there are plenty of other ways to get cosmetics, and I'm going to go through that in the kind of precursor general cosmetic section that's right after this. And what we're going to do today is break down each class's penance, the approach, the feats you might need to take, how you would accomplish them. Now, some of these I'm not going to have very explicit videos on what you need to do. I'm going to mainly talk about the overall theory, the feat setup, what you're going to do, how you're going to approach it, because I want to keep intact the overall challenge of the penances because it's very fun to do. There are plenty of ways that you can find step-by-step guide video and guide breakthroughs on like the Steam video, or I'm sorry, the Steam guide portion of Steam or on Reddit, whatever it is. So if that's what you're looking for in this video, I apologize. I will not have every single one of these down to an exact video explanation, but most of them I will give you that pretty good solid breakdown. So if that's what you're looking for, I don't want you to be disappointed going forward. Just wanted to give you that heads up. You can find each class broken apart in both the timeline and the description with the linked chapters. And if you do end up enjoying the video, guys, by all means, please do like, comment, and or subscribe. That does help out any content creator you watch in a huge, huge way. I cannot express enough. We will also be covering tons more of Darktide gameplay, guides, and so on and so forth. So be on the lookout for that. But let's get started here on how to unlock cosmetics with penance in Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. Starting us off, let's have a quick conversation about your individual cosmetics. Now, you do have all of your penances, which are going to be account wide. So anything that says, well, account for sure, but stuff like heretics, missions, offensive, defensive, team, that stuff is done across your entire account. So when you see certain cosmetics like this, they're going to unlock across the entire way. Now, of course, the ones that you're probably looking at the most are your individual class ones. I'm going to go ahead and go to Preacher here, and we're going to take a look at this one. Complete a mission on malice, threat, or higher without firing a shot. Now, we're going to talk about that in the individual Preacher section, but what I want you to know is that it says complete a mission. So if you come into a mission or you get disconnected in the middle of a mission, any one of those kind of circumstances invalidates this. And if you have something like this, you know, buying time, using a stun grenade to hit an enemy sniper more than 40 meters away, as soon as you unlock this, you've unlocked it. You don't have to complete the mission like you did for Vermintide. If you get disconnected and can't reconnect and you've already unlocked it, don't worry about it. And if you fail the mission, you still have it unlocked. So it's just kind of worth noting those things about cosmetics. And you also, every single class has a layered first cosmetic upgrade where you'll get a cosmetic at 5, 10, 20, 25, and then there is a final cosmetic you can unlock down here at the bottom for a headpiece. You'll just have to do a bunch of other things. And one last little bit here is, and there's none available right now, or else I'd show it to you on a character that could actually access it, is Sire Melk's Requisitorium. Now, there are timed requisitions that appear there every day. And those recycle around, I think it's 3 or 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, unless it's changed on this build. But either way, that is a location where you can find cosmetics. And if you find the cosmetic on one character, it's probably spawned on all of your characters that can access this to pull cosmetics from. So that's just kind of some general information I wanted to talk about with the cosmetics. And if you got the Imperial edition of the game, those cosmetics will be coming on the 30th. So let's jump into some individual classes, their penances, and how to unlock some of them. We're not going to cover every single one of them because I haven't progressed to that far point in the game. That's why this is a part 1, but still worth mentioning. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of those. And starting us off, we're talking about Sharpshooter. If you notice the pre-order beta test in November, whatever, in the upper left corner, it's because I reshot this section. So I apologize for any lack of continuity. So talking about the first penance to unlock with the Sharpshooter, of course, remember, you know, you do have your level 5, 10, 15, all those actions. You've got Marked for Death. During a single use of volley fire, hit the weak spot of 4 enemies with a weapon secondary action without missing a shot. This is kind of convoluted and a little confusing in the wording. Hit the weak spot of 4 enemies. It doesn't need to be 4 different enemies. In fact, what you can simply do is target a Reaper, target a Plague Beast of Nurgle's weak spot, and just keep hitting it 4 times. Unless this has been patched in the 6 hours in which I got this penance, I simply just shot the weak spot on a Plague of Nurgle 4 times with volley fire activated, aiming down the sight, and that's all you need to do. I thought you had to hit 4 separate enemies and there are 4 separate weak spots. That's not the case. You just need to hit an enemy's weak spot 4 times with volley fire aiming down sights. Pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. And I think knowing that is going to make this far easier for anyone who doesn't have it unlocked. Long bomb. Kill 3 enemies with a frag grenade without it bouncing. I'm going to show you how to do this in the next section. Basically, what you're going to want to do is stand around, I think it's like 40-45 meters, and then throw the grenade. And you want to throw it so that the arc of the grenade lands above their head and explodes. And I'm going to, again, show you how to time that and make it that actually work for you. Next one up here is kill 5 enemies with the last round. Oop, Jesus, where did it go? Kill 5 enemies with the last round in your clip during a single mission on Malice Threat or higher. You can do this with any gun. Feel free to use it with the charged las gun, the one from the Death Corps of Krieg if you want, or feel free to use it with the bolter or the plasma gun, or maybe even the revolver. All those things have very high damage, so you can kill most things with one headshot anyway with the last round in the clip. But I have a feeling that you'll probably do this by happenstance, just playing through the game. But all it needs to be is the last round in your clip needs to be something that kills an enemy, and it doesn't need to be in rapid succession. It can just be at any point throughout the mission 5 times. Pretty easy. Complete a mission on Malice Threat or higher without taking any melee damage. This one's going to be a little bit trickier, but it's going to require you pretty much to either have a group of friends that really know what they're doing, and you having a really good awareness of what's going on, because it's easy to stay out of melee damage or melee combat with anything in the front, but it's when you get accidentally backstabbed by some sort of shithead that kind of sneaks up on you. So you have to have a lot of really good awareness. Even if you are playing with friends, just make sure you're always checking your 6, like I was in the military or some shit. No, make sure you're always looking behind you, because you don't want to get backstabbed and ruin this. And keep in mind, like I've said before in the general section, complete a mission. So if you get disconnected, you are not going to complete this. If you get disconnected and reconnect in the middle of the mission, it counts as having rejoined joined the mission in the middle. So you have to do it from start to finish without any breaking of connections or anything like that. A good way probably to do this is also trying to use an axe or anything that gives you high mobility so you can dodge very far. Staying out of things as best you can is probably the best way to do this, and also doing any kind of mission that has the least amount of events. You don't have to deal with any constant backstabbage. Onto Deadeye here. On Heresy Threat or higher, during a single use of volley fire, kill 5 highlighted enemies with weak spot hits whilst using a weapon's secondary action. So aim down the sight and kill 5 enemies. So there's going to be some tricks to doing this. Let's go ahead and go into our operative and into our feats. Again, this is unfortunately not a build that I've got a level 30 on, so we're going to just show you what feats I would definitely use. So definitely want to use this just to kind of help with targeting things down, but this is to highlight it for your whole entire party. So it's not necessarily that crucial for this feat. Now, what we're going to be using, of course, is volley fire, and we're going to keep in mind our make every shot count increases our weak spot damage by 15%. So we're going to choose an alt like counterfire, which has 25% weak spot damage increase during volley fire. So now we're going to have an additional 40% weak spot damage from these two active, and we're also doing 50% additional range damage when volley fire is active. So it's going to allow you to pop those elites and specials very easily. What's the best thing about this, though, is counterfire now designates all scab shooters as priority targets, whereas it would not have before, and killing a designated enemy during volley fire refreshes its duration. So if you're struggling to get this under level 30, and if you're also you're in heresy, right? So it's much harder in heresy to do things. If you pop on counterfire, you'll be able to keep the volley fire active for longer to maintain the chance of actually getting this penance, I almost said countenance, penance taken care of, because this is going to refresh every time you kill a designated enemy during that volley fire window. So making sure you have that active is going to be pretty crucial to you to ensure you get that max damage and keeping up your actual volley fire for the sharpshooter. And keep in mind too, you don't have to complete the mission. All you have to do is do the mission up until the point that you get this, and then you can leave the mission. If you fail the mission, whatever it is, don't worry about it. You don't have to complete it like you do in Vermintide, like I said. This last one here, complete a mission on Heresy Threat or higher with no ammo remaining and 100% accuracy. This is going to come down to you expending your ammo with something with the lowest ammo possible. So something like a bolt gun, a plasma gun. The multi-melta, I'm not sure is actually if it's actually in the game. That might have something like a very small amount of ammo all around, because you have to have 100% accuracy. So you have to spend your clip into something. The way you'd want to really do this is hold on to all of your ammo until you come across an atrocity. Then spend the ammo on the atrocity and just completely empty your entire clip into it. And if you, again, are using something like a bolt gun, the revolver does have small ammo too, or the plasma gun, this is a way to get 100% accuracy, because all those shots are going to hit the massive target that is a monstrosity, and then you just simply need to complete the mission. So no big deal there. Just get that 100% accuracy by shooting those targets. You can also shoot Reapers. It's a little bit riskier just because you might accidentally miss them in the tumult of battle. You can also do the mission where you have to kill or assassinate a target and just spend it on the target shield. That's another great way to do these things. But basically, save that ammo for a large target that you will not miss, and shoot in bursts. Don't empty your clip, because if it gets too far out and you get one shot miss and you have 99% accuracy, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. No metaphor there. But those are some ways that you can help yourself out in getting make every shot count happen. And keep in mind, you do have to be on Heresy and you do have to complete it, so do not get disconnected. Now let's switch over to the actual Psycanium to show you how to cook your grenade for Long Bomb. So this is how you're going to accomplish Long Bomb, by simply first going into Sedition level difficulty. You can do it on any difficulty. Sedition is just probably the easiest because things have the least amount of health. And what we're going to do is mark the ground. That's going to give me a location that I can then track the distance from where I am at to that location to make timing this and showing this off a little bit easier for you. But basically what we're going to do here is use the skull that shows me where the location is and the distance to it, and the throwing arc of the grenade as a kind of telltale as to how we can get this to go. How we can get this to go off the way we want it to. Let's go like right there. Go all the way back. Now, obviously, you can't do this in a mission, but it's mainly the distance you're trying to measure here. So you just kind of use that skull as a guide. So there we go. About 48 meters, about 45, I think is what you need. But you see that little throwing arc? It's making contact with the top of the skull. I'm going to move it just a little bit above, so it's not making contact. I'm going to throw it, and it killed all of them without having to touch the ground. And that's all you need to do. You simply just time it so that it can get far enough away and do it. You could probably have certain missions where you just throw it high enough in the air and it could have enough of a parabola to cause that bomb. But basically you need to be around 50 meters. Let's go ahead and try it again. I'll try it without like being back here. You basically just find a group of poxwalkers that is static and you want to do it on that group. So that's it's about 64 meters. Because I've actually selected behind them. I'm going to do just that. So there you go. You can see that's killing all of them, and they're all regenerating right there. So if this were a mission, I would be getting that penance right there. So hopefully that helps you out. Long Bomb. The other ones, of course, are just pretty much down to you doing volley fire. We talked about the Marked for Death. Pop into volley fire and just shoot that sensitive spot 4 times. Doesn't need to be 4 separate enemies. So just have at it and see where it gets you, and you'll be getting both those penances knocked out pretty damn easily. Sharpshooter also has some pretty awesome cosmetics here. So let's start with the upper body. You've got the gun hands duty uniform. I'm sure you've probably seen this one. The shooter's duty uniform. I think this is the one you get for doing the headshots. The Deadeye's duty uniform. Here's the difference between the two. You have the little purity seal on there. The little inquisitorial seal. The Deadeye Sentry uniform, just a different undershirt. And then the Killshot's Punishment uniform, which I really love. Death Before Dishonor. Very, very, very fuego. With our headpieces, I only have 2 to show off. Again, this is the ones you get for completing your penances and doing one more. And then you've got your Cantrail Mock. Mock is right. Mock for a Warden Helm. And you, for lower body, you've got your gun hands duty, your pistoleros duty uniform, your shooter's duty uniform, your Deadeye's duty uniform, which I believe is the one you get from the penance, or it's the kill shot. I think it's the Deadeye. And the kill shot, which gets a little leather in there, right? A little more durable leather. So overall, you just look just damn badass. To start us off, let's take a look at some of the penance for the Zealot. And I don't have all of them unlocked. Like I said, we're going to pretty much be talking about some of them that I can show you. Some of them I'm going to at least understand how to get, and we're going to go through them right here. So the first one you're probably going to look at is Abhor the Mutant. While dashing, kill a mutant with a melee attack. So this one's kind of confusing in the wording here, but basically the way you would approach this is, and I'll show you this in the Psychanium, holding down the ultimate F, and then holding down a charge attack, releasing the ultimate, and you'll track towards a mutant and hit them right as you kind of come to. You cannot dash, stop, and then attack. You have to do it in the middle of your dash. This can be easier done with a Eviscerator or with a Thunderhammer. I did it with a Claw Sword though, and this is one of those ones that you can truly just get done on your own. You just simply need to keep trying and you'll eventually get it. It's one of those that's pretty easy to kind of stumble upon. Next, you've got buying time. Using a stun grenade, hit an enemy sniper more than 40 meters away. The easiest way to do this is to simply tag the sniper and then walk backwards until you notice that they are, well, run around until you get them to be 40 meters away from you. And once you've done that, you're just going to throw the stun grenade really high up to see if you can get it to explode above them rather than right on top of them. This prevents them from kind of running away and getting away from that overall blast. Another one here is complete a mission on malice threat or higher without firing a shot. So this one's tricky because the wording is kind of confusing. And remember, if you lose connection in the middle of this one, it will not complete. So if you are trying to do this and you lose connection, you come back in, it will not have considered completed. But this says without firing a shot. Just simply equip a flamer. You can use any melee weapon, a flamer, and your grenades, and you're totally fine. Otherwise, just simply don't use a flamer if you don't, or don't use a ranged weapon, period, if you don't have a flamer, have access to that. Just basically, you can't fire a last shot, more or less. I think these are the other ones up here. Oh, shocking stuff. So this one's kind of confusing, and I've got a little a clip here to show you of how I did it, but this says on malice threat or higher, kill 50 enemies stunned by your grenades within 10 seconds. This is very easily done on heresy though, because with malice, you just don't quite get enough with the hordes. And if you do an endless horde heresy, you don't have to complete the mission, you just have to do the challenge. And I personally found that the best way to do this is jamming up a doorway or some sort of kill point. You can do it with the people on your team, but as long as you guys are corralling them within some sort of choke point or some sort of doorway, you throw one, if not two grenades, and you're probably thinking use a flamer. A flamer will work, but I did this using a bolt gun because the bolt gun has an explosive shell that if it hits something, and more often than not, it'll take 2, 3, 4 enemies with it. And of course you want to do this in just a simple Poxwalker horde. You'll see the clip play and you'll see that I pretty much just kind of sprayed a bunch of bolt guns into a horde and I triggered this this penance. But it can just as easily, like I said, be done with a flamer. It just simply requires you to really focus on having your flamer out before you throw your grenade. So once you switch back from your grenade to the flamer, you don't have to switch again. It takes forever to pull that thing out, so make sure you just got it going. Moving all the way down here though, we have There Is Nothing But the Abyss. On Heresy Threat or higher, heal to full health with the life gained solely from the Holy Revenant feat after it triggers. So let's take a look at the Holy Revenant feat real quick. And what this does here is when until death ends, you gain health based on the damage you dealt during until death. Melee damage heals for twice the amount. This is, in my opinion, best done with a bolter or a flamer. And you have to get yourself into a horde. Let the horde put you into until death and then go to town with your flamer. In my experience, the way that this ability works is you get some sort of hidden temporary health. And so if you're down in until death mode and you're in melee combat and you go to kill something with a Thunderhammer or an Eviscerator, you just can't do enough damage because the damage you're receiving seems to be chipping away at that hidden temporary health that you're gaining from this. So basically you don't just gain raw health, you gain the overall health that you didn't get chipped away from you by the actual monster still attacking you. So by doing this with ranged, you can immediately push things away from you and do damage to them. You've got 10 seconds to do that, right? Because 5 seconds to do that, because that's how long until death lasts. And you want to maximize the amount of damage you can get out. With a bolter, you just get out so much damage. And if you get downed by a whole pack of poxwalkers, you're going to blow through them like a hood rat. So that's probably my best recommendation here. Conversely, you could do an Eviscerator and try to single target down a Mauler or stuff like that. But in my experience, even doing melee damage, it doesn't do enough to regenerate full. It seems to be that it's not like a raw damage amount. If I do 200 damage, I'm going to get 400 health. It seems to be percentile based. So if I did 10% damage, I get maybe 10 or 20%. It seems very cryptic. This one might be bugged, to be totally honest. So take this with a grain of salt. It might be a bugged one. I haven't been able to get it to trigger, and I've tried a bunch of different variations. But from what I've read and what I've heard, everyone's saying do it with a ranged weapon. Penances back here into the Preacher. We have the last one. Now, talking about this legitimately, I don't think you can do it with the current set of missions that we have. Because of all the things you've got to do, I just don't think you can do it from starting from beginning to end. Now, the current cheese method to this is get yourself down to 1 wound and then run back to the start of the mission and hang out there until you've hit 10 minutes and then have the entire squad suicide. That's the cheese way to do it. That will probably get patched. So I wanted to tell you the cheese way, and I think that the legitimate way is probably not in the game just yet until we get more missions and zones added in. So that concludes our Preachers. Let's quickly jump into the Preacher. Let's quickly jump into the Psycanium to show off how to do the charge attack onto a mutant. Starting us off, let's talk about how to basically measure your throw for stunning a sniper. We're just going to go ahead and press down the middle mouse button. There we go. We've marked him. I'm going to sprint backwards. I can see in the upper left corner. Okay, 20, 30, there we go. Now, you can do this from 30 meters. What might be a little bit easier, though, because it's a sniper, is get to around 39 or 40. The timer on the stun grenade is shorter than the timer on the veteran sharpshooter. And again, let's go ahead and... Nope, there we go. Let's go ahead, there you go. Just throw it. It's probably going to hit him. Oh, see, it blew up right above his head. And that's kind of what I wanted here. At 30 meters dead on, it probably would have bounced around him. And if you are only limited to 30 meters because of corridors or whatever it is, then just bank it off of a wall. It doesn't matter if it bounces, right? Like the sharpshooters does. It's just as long as that person is 30 meters away. And that'll give you the chance to give them a good stun. If it lands close to them and it's still going, the sniper will actually run away. So just kind of keep that in mind. So that's how the next portion is going to be based off of 2 of those challenges. Number 1 being the mutant portion, and we'll use this guy as an example. So the best way to do this, the best way to maximize your damage using your ult for Zealot, and I've gone over this many times, is activate. If you have an activatable like this chainsword, this eviscerator, activate, hold down F, hold down left click, release F. And I did the damage I needed to do. So that's probably the most reliable way to do the max damage to a mutant. Again, you can use this with a claw sword. I got it unlocked with a claw sword. That's how you would do the same thing. For our Preacher's cosmetic showcase here. Now again, for all of these, I'm going to be on an older build of the game. This was something that Indie Pride and I had access to so that we could do, or he could do some pre-release stuff. A lot of this is from the limited acquisition store, but some of these are from the actual penances, but I'm just going to kind of quickly scrub through them. Like I believe these are the 2 from the individual penances that you can get done. You'll notice that the masked ones come as a result of finishing the penances, then doing an additional one. So those are all kind of part of a tiered. This is part of a, again, this is from the limited acquisition store. This is the one I think you get for doing the, can't remember. You've got this one here, you forget from reaching level 20, 25, here's a level 15 one or 10 one. Pious, Lazarus Vestment, Missionaries, Exhorters, the Saintly. So this is the one that you get, the max level one is very similar to this one, the Final Penance one. It's just red rather than this kind of grayish color. And this one's really sick too. The Saintly Missionary's Vestment has a really good, this is probably one of my favorite ones. Like I love this one. I absolutely love this one. But let's move over to our next class. I lied. Before we do that, we got to look at the leg portion. Totally whiffed that one. But Saintly Exhorters, Pious Mendicant's Vestments, Dedicated Mendicant's Vestments, and then your Lowly Mendicant Vestments for your for your preacher. Now we're moving to the next class. The Psyker probably has some of the more annoying penances, and I think a lot of them are going to come down to simply timing or putting yourself in situations you can actually make them go off. So for Not Even Close here, our first one to talk about, kill a pouncing poxhound with Brain Burst. Now this is one that is really going to be you just do it by playing the game. But basically you want to charge up your Brain Burst, your Blitz, and whenever you hear the Poxhound like little warning thing, and then is just watch the Poxhound. It's better if it's charging you because then you can time it better, and then you just simply dodge, release, and pop that thing's head. It's a pretty easy one to do. It's just about getting the timing down, and like I said, this is one I think you'll just kind of take care of as you play the game. Cliffhanger is a tedious one. So kill 20 enemies within 2 seconds by knocking them off of a ledge. Now this is not difficulty bound, but I think that with difficulty 3 or 4 on an Endless Horde, you put yourself in a really good position to kind of do this a lot easier. And the way I would really do this is by doing the Tempestrum mission, the raid one, and simply wait until the very end. This is how we did this for my friend Duke Eligos. Wait until the very end, complete everything. The drawbridge will extend and you'll be able to depart from the Stormhawk, Thunderhawk, whichever one, I think it's a Stormhawk. If you're facing the Stormhawk, walk behind the left wing and you'll find a nice little clearing there. Just basically get everyone to kind of congeal up to you, or up to hopefully an Ogryn or someone else in your team, and then sidestep them as the Psyker and blast them over the edge. You can see in this clip, it's kind of wonky how we display it because it's from my perspective as the preacher, but this is what allowed him to trigger this. And what he had to do was use the ult that enables him to actually push things, and then he used the Force Sword to push things further for that final 2 seconds to completely get the full 20 off the cliff. There are a bunch of places you can do this across the map. Having a friend that is an Ogryn with a slap shield is what's really going to help you out here. Onto Warp Battery. While on Malice Threat or higher in a single mission, maintain maximum warp charges for 300 seconds. Again, this is going to come down to your feat selections here and really just kind of trying to do this the best you can. Again, I don't have level 30s in this build, so I apologize. But what you're going to want to do is where you want your peril resistance here, and you want to use this ult, Kinetic Barrage, because it will not expend any of your warp charges when you use the ult, so you don't want to accidentally do it. And use Psychic Communion. Whenever you are an ally in coherency kills an enemy, you have a 4% chance to gain a warp charge. This is just a way that you can kind of maintain your warp charges. And you can be kind of cheesy with this. You can basically have friends kind of corral a whole bunch of Poxwalkers together, and you can sit there for 5 minutes, or you can run through the mission trying to keep your warp charges up with Psychic Communion and trying to maintain things with Kinetic Barrage, because this allows you to make your Brain Burst charge faster. So when your charges are just about to deplete, you can use a very quick brain burst to get things going for you. Now moving back here into our penances for the Psyker, we have another really interesting one, Going Out with a Bang. While on Malice Threat or higher, kill 3 elite enemies with the single perils of the Warp Explosion. So we did this using a method that I thought would really work, and it ended up working. And basically you want 3 Dreg Ragers to corral around you and then just blow yourself up. Use a staff that really is going to boost up your peril or brain burst a bunch of time beforehand so you have very high peril. Get those Dreg Ragers to surround you and then explode. Now you can do this with Maulers, but Maulers do have a lot more health. And there's an interesting thing about this. So we did this with 2 individual friends in the stream that we did. One friend just killed all 3 at once, and it worked because it says kill 3 elite enemies with a single perils of the Warp Explosion. But the other friend who did this, he killed 2 enemies with 1 peril of the warp, got back up, and did it again and killed another elite enemy. And that got the penance to trigger. So there's a chance that this actually might be kill 3 elite enemies, not with one single Perils of the Warp, but throughout the whole entire mission. It might be the way it actually is. It might be bugged. So keep that in mind. I think the most succinct and easiest way to do this is 3 Dreg Ragers and just blow up on them. Pick and mix here is while on heresy threat or higher, use Brain Burst to kill 5 different elite or specialist enemies within 10 seconds. The way to really do this is just put Endless Hordes on, get 5 elite enemies to stack up, and go to town. Now, this does say elite or specialist enemies, so if anything spawns, that kind of helps you out there, but make sure you have the feat that's going to allow you to keep this going. So we're going to go back to our feats. So you want to have Kinetic Barrage so that you can keep your Brain Bursts constantly flowing here, right? Because you're going to need to do that. You're going to need to brace and burst them down as fast as possible, and it's really going to help you out. So making sure you've got that feat so that you can basically use your ult and then start triggering those Brain Bursts. Conversely, you could also use where is it? The damaging an enemy with your Brain Burst ability. Rack and Ruin. There you go. Killing an elite or a specialist with Brain Burst applies 2 stacks of Soul Blaze. Hey, guess what? That's still not the one I was talking about. Kinetic Flare. All attacks have 10% chance on hit to Brain Burst the target. So you could attack something like a Reaper and try to get this to trigger the Brain Burst. And when it does, then start using your other 4 Blitz Brain Bursts to go from there. That could be a way to layer this, but I honestly think it kind of comes down to Kinetic Barrage and having Warp Resistance, as well as having Warp Battery, because Warp Resistance is then going to have a 36% warp charge resistance or peril resistance here, so that you can basically maximize your charges coming into Kinetic Barrage to get as many Brain Bursts out without having to purge perils. You do not want to have to purge perils during this to make it actually kick off for you. Then our last one to talk about here is the Preacher's nope. The Psyker, and it's Malleus Monstrorum. While on heresy that are higher, single-handedly kill a monstrosity, whereby all damage inflicted is done by you, and all damage inflicted is done by a Brain Burst. So unless you have friends that are willing to kind of corral a monster around and you guys just Brain Burst it down into smithereens, you're pretty much just going to have to wait until we have a specific mission that maybe just starts with the monstrosity out the gate. Otherwise, you just have to do this with friends until you guys come across a monstrosity and then spend time trying to burst it down together. So this helps you hopefully with Psyker and having to getting these individual penances, because they are a bit tricky, but I think with a little bit of perseverance, you'll eventually unlock them. And as a quick showcase here for the Psyker, here is the upper body options. Now this is again one that I've found on the limited store, and this is an old build of the game, so do not expect to find these in any way, shape, or form anytime soon. But this is the Storm Witch's Duty Raiment. Here is the Service Raiment, and then here's the Leash Raiment. We go ahead and equip that one. For the headpieces, this is the Psychina hood. Now you get this from completing all of your penances, and there's another round of that adds a little face mask onto it. Then for the lower body, we have the Mind Witch's Duty Raiment, the Storm Witch's Duty Raiment, the Service Raiment, and then the Penance Raiment. So you can see all the, and here's the Scryer Witches. It's got that really cool brocade in there. But just to kind of quickly show off all of the individual options here for your Psyker. Last but certainly not least is the Ogryn, and some of these are actually a lot easier than some of the other classes. So moving through this, we have I'm in charge, use Bull Rush to interrupt a Plague Ogryn's charge. No mysticism here, just simply make sure that you smash into a Plague Ogryn and you will interrupt that charge. Something in your eye, kill a Corruptor by hitting it in the eye with your grenade box. A Corruptor, if you did not know, is the little eye that opens up on any of the Purify missions after you kill the 3 tentacles. It'll then spawn that little weird carapace like beetle thing with a big old eye. Throw the eye, that'll kill it, and you're good to go. That's all you have to do for those 2. They're pretty self-explanatory for the Skullbreaker, and pretty straightforward, which I actually really like. But this one's kind of hard. Stay in coherency with all living teammates at all times during a mission on Malice threat or higher. You could kind of game the system here and kill teammates, but I don't really think that's going to work succinctly because of how long the current set of missions and zones are. Again, like I've said before with the Preacher, when we have different missions and zones, the whole entire smattering, this might become much easier to do because staying in coherency for that amount of time and having to deal with all the objectives is going to be difficult. You're going to want a pre-made for this one, but there's a feat that you can choose that's going to help you out. Let's go over to our feat section. Old Ogryn link in here. Again, I've played on a earlier build like about a week and a half ago or a week ago that had a level 50, and I don't have 30. I don't have that anymore, so I apologize if this is jarring to not see the actual trait itself or feat itself. So we've got Towering Presence here. This gives a 50% coherency radius. You just need it. You absolutely need it to increase your coherency radius. Because it doesn't say that they have to be, I mean, like, you just really have to keep people together, and you have to keep them together the whole time. So this one is really, I think, a spicy one. If they die, though, that makes it a little bit easier. So if, and the other portion of it that is a challenge is that it is on Malice Threat or higher. It has an actual difficulty affixed to it. So I'd say Malice Threat, fewer hordes, pre-made with Towering Presence, and this should be easier for you to accomplish. On to Gone Bowling. Knock down 100 enemies with a single bull rush on Malice Threat or higher. So this one doesn't have a distance like Don't Stop Me Now does. And in fact, we're going to talk about them both at the same time. Don't Stop Me Now is move 70 meters with bull rush in under 25 seconds on Heresy Threat or higher. So you do not need to do that all at once. Getting the longest route possible and running like a flag pattern, sure, yeah, that's going to help you out. But knocking down 100 enemies with a single bull rush, that's going to be nice on certain missions that you have hordes coming at you in one set wave, which is a lot of missions right now that are just going to be sending them at you directly. But you can also kind of line this up with a bunch of poxwalkers, stuff like that. And you're going to need some feats that'll make this a little bit easier. So for both Gone Bowling and Don't Stop Me Now, let's take a look at our feat section. Let's go look at our feat. So Unstoppable is going to increase the distance you travel with Bull Rush by 100%, and you cannot be blocked by enemies except monstrosities. So if you're not level 30, you don't necessarily need this to accomplish it, but this can basically make it happen a lot easier because your Bull Rush is just going to allow you to plow through everything. This is going to give you bleed stacks, and that's going to replenish toughness. Those things aren't really going to help. And by and large, a lot of these perks don't really apply, unfortunately, to Bull Rush, except for this one. When you activate Bull Rush, allies and coherency gain movement speed. That's not going to help you. And Bull Rush cooldown, when you or an ally in coherency kills an elite enemy, this is going to help you. Because remember, it's 70 meters within 25 seconds. So if you have Bullfighter on and you charge into a huge horde with Unstoppable, this will allow you to move things around, and you can hopefully then line up kills quicker for Bullfighter to get Bull Rush back online quickly, to then just use it again at a location that is not filled with enemies. It just gives you a long pipe of movement there. So trying to stack those things up is going to be pretty huge for you between Bullfighter and Unstoppable to accomplish this. The unfortunate thing, though, is that trying to make these actually happen in conjunction, I think, is going to be difficult. I think you have to do one or the other, especially because this is Malice Threat and this is Heresy Threat. So you can try to do both at the same time on Heresy, which actually might be just fine with a Endless Hordes or normal hordes for the 100 enemies. It's just this one you're really going to have to get the timing down to make sure you can keep moving with Bull Rush, and make sure that you can keep getting that distance to get up to that total of 70 meters. Our last one here, on Heresy Threat or higher, knock down 4 enemy Ogryns, Bulwarks, Crushers, Plague Ogryns, and or Reapers with a single Bull Rush charge. This is going to really come down to being on Heresy with max difficulty. I'm sorry, with Endless Horde, because if you're on Endless Horde, you're going to be dealing with lots of Ogryns. You'll deal with like 2 or 3 Reaper spawns with 1 or 2 Crushers almost all the time. Bulwarks usually spawn with either another Crusher or another Bulwark, and a Reaper usually spawns with another Reaper. So those things are kind of nice to get stacked up together, you can use your shield to try and bring them together and then just simply use your bolt charge. I think what really needs to happen though here for this one is, again, that feat of ensuring that you've got unstoppable, because this will make it so that you don't stop charging if you're charging through Ogryns and armored targets. Otherwise you will. So this will make sure that you kind of push through them and accomplish your Ogryn penances here. But that concludes our video here today. Some of these, I don't have exact examples for, because like I said, it's kind of self-explanatory. Like, okay, charge 70 meters, or stay in coherency. I mean, I don't have an example of that because it's goddamn hard. And it's also the reason why I haven't completed it. But a lot of these penances I think will become easier or harder, depending on what's going to happen in the future with any kind of balance changes as we come to the launch of the actual game on the 30th, and any kind of zones and missions added, which we know are coming every week, including this week. So take a look at some of these. You now know at least the theory behind how to accomplish them. Go ahead and try to tackle them in the best way possible. Hopefully. Last, but again, always not least, it is the Ogryn for our showcase. For our legs, we have the Brute's armor, the Brute's best armor, and then the Brute's biggest and bestest armor. Very nice looking there. For the chest piece, we have the tactical battle gear, the Brute's best armor, the Brute's biggest and best armor. Again, adding in a little bit of variety on the wrists. See that there. Then the Thug's garb. So pretty much it depends on what kind of undershirt you want here. For the helmet, I think I only have one here, and it's this guy right here, the Corsair Mach 3B Brute helm. So that is our showcase there. Let's go ahead and move on. Hopefully this gave you some contextual tips on how to accomplish things and whatnot. If you have any questions or you're getting snagged on certain ones, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. There's a lot of really great guides too in the Steam guide portion. Someone had a pretty cool one for exact locations and missions on how to do long bomb. I just wanted to give you an overall theory on how to approach it rather than trying to focus down the individual mission, the individual location, and trying to do it. Because sometimes that stuff can actually, like, man, I'm just not accomplishing it doing exactly how this guide told me to do it. I'm trying to give you at least a breakdown on how you can accomplish it just playing the game, hopefully. So again, let me know in the comment section below if you are struggling with any of these. I'll do my best to help explain or give you any kind of mission tips, whatever it is. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.